The following is a conversation with Mandi Rafsendjani. Mandi is a seasoned trader performance coach who excels in helping traders refine their decision-making processes for optimal trading performance. She brings a wealth of knowledge and experience from her extensive background in NLP as a master practitioner and trading psychology. In addition to her coaching practice, Mandi has been trading since 2002 and is well versed in derivatives, equities, and trading systems. Most importantly, she is a warm-hearted and wonderful person who supports traders on the way to success. And now, dear friends, here is Mandi Rafsendjani. Hey Mandi, how are you doing?
I'm really well. Thanks, Ellen. Thank you for inviting me for our podcast chat. I'm super excited.
Awesome. I always like to start conversations with stories. So what's your story, Mandi? Please.
My story, wow. Well, I am German and I live in Australia, in Melbourne. And I'm really lucky because I can spend the Australian winter in Europe, staying with my immediate family. And I spent the Australian summer in Australia. So I'm a little bit of a nomad and really enjoying the best of all worlds.
I mean, summer and winter.
Yes, that's right.
So you're trading coaching, right?
That's right. So I started trading in a long time ago, Ellen. I started in 2002. And
2002. Okay.
yes, yeah. So
20
a very
years
long
ago.
20 years ago, exactly. 22 years to be precise, right?
Right, 22.
And so yeah, it was a really hard journey because at the time there was no such thing as an internet like we have it today. I actually had to physically pick up the phone and call my broker, which for you young guys is like, what are you talking about? Especially when someone's in the innovation field like you are. And there was no iPhone. iPhone came in 2007. And there
2007,
was,
right.
yeah, there was no such thing as TradingView. TradingView started in 2011, and neither the iPhone or the smartphones nor TradingView were as sophisticated as they are today. So trading was very, very differently. Online trading in Australia started in October 2002. A company called CMC Markets that you maybe know, they were the first one who offered online trading in Australia. And shortly after came IG markets, and that was all we had. So, again, trading was so, so differently at that time than it is nowadays. And so I started, I was like, yeah, finally I found something that I'm passionate about and I could really see the potential. And, I thought, wow, I learned in July 2002, I learned about trading. And I was convinced that by December, I'm going to have a Ferrari in the garage. And, I found the holy grail. I'm going to be so rich. But oh boy, it was a journey. Still don't have a
Lost all the
Ferrari.
money.
Exactly. But it's I realized that there was a few things that I had to learn about myself because I was so unsuccessful with trading. It was heartbreaking, and I didn't really know why. And someone said to me, "Yeah, in trading you have to be disciplined in order to be successful." And I said, "Come on, I'm German. We Germans, we have discipline for breakfast." But discipline in trading, it's not really about discipline. It's so much more than that, right? Like discipline is a word that means everything and nothing. Like, what does it even mean? And so I was really lucky again because I met a guy, David Novak. He is in Australia. He is a very seasoned options trainer. He still operates. When did I meet him? In 2004. And he mentioned that he did Landmark Education, which is like a personal development company. And that really helped him with his trading. And then I was like, wow, if he did it, I'm going to do it too. And so I did the Landmark Forum, and it completely changed my life because I realized how neurotic I was and how I was so brought up to be and create the opposite of success. Like whatever I would touch, I would turn into misery and failure. But not because I was stupid or not intelligent,
But
which I,
in some
mhm.
ways, that like those thoughts are also discipline. I mean, you discipline
Ah,
yourself to think good about yourself.
yes, yeah, I didn't have that, Ellen. You see, I had such a negative self-image. And with landmark education, suddenly I saw that. And before, I didn't know that about myself. I thought I'm just a completely normal person like everyone else. And trading is like a mirror indeed. And then I realized, oh, there's so much more for me to learn and to grow and to become
Hmm.
better at. And that was the start of my journey into the mindset, into understanding why we do what we do, why some are successful, others are not. And um, I started with learning neurolinguistic programming, NLP,
Yeah,
and I became eventually an NLP master trainer. I studied then traditional coaching. I did my diploma in traditional coaching. And since then, I have added one discipline after the other. So, trauma coaching, relationship coaching, health coaching, business coaching. Essentially, they're all the same. And yet they're a little bit different because you go into in different areas you have to go deeper. So relationship coaching and health coaching might be very, very similar. For example, business coaching and trading coaching, performance coaching, it's still very similar. And yet a little bit different because in trading it's just you, in business you have so many variables as well. So yeah, that was really how my journey started from 2004 when I didn't even know about something like wealth creation or personal development. And when I found out about it, I was like, yeah, that's my chance. And here I am doing performance coaching now with amazing traders.
got it. So you started with trading, and then you transitioned to coaching and NLP, like together, right? Or NLP and then
That's right.
coaching.
Mhm.
Um,
So I traded the whole time because my main focus was I wanted to become a
to
good trader.
transition the knowledge that you acquired in NLP and coaching to
Mhm.
yourself in trading, in your trading career.
Exactly. Exactly. First, I applied it to myself.
Got it. So you started as a trader, like as a pure trader, and then you started to learn about coaching and NLP, and then you use the knowledge to in your trading career to well to gain profits, obviously. How
Exactly.
did you go?
It
Like
was,
back then, like 20 years
yeah.
ago, 22 years ago.
So again, it was before the internet, so it was quite a long journey. It took me about 7 years. 2007 was really the first year that I started making some really good profits. And then it was a little bit up and down because also the market environment suited me really well in 2007, and then 2008 was also pretty good, but 2009 was a bit hard. Also, personally, my father got sick, and so when you have influences, external influences that affect you, it affects your trading, unless you have learned how to build almost like a shield, like a protective shield around you. And a protective shield can be something like having an algo, but at the time that wasn't available, right? So now
Yeah.
trading is there's so much more available in order to succeed. And I wish more traders would actually apply the tools that we have available nowadays. It would be a very different life out there for traders.
Why didn't you quit from trading after 5 years of losses? I
Yeah,
mean 5 years it's not short time frame, you know? I mean, if you have
yeah, it
lost
was.
quite substantial amount of money, why didn't you quit?
Well, I never lost a substantial amount of money. So it
No?
was always like smaller losses. Um,
Small losses.
but
Okay.
Exactly. I was never a big loss. The first big loss I made was 2016, the Trump rally, but that's a different story. Um, but yeah, it was because I knew the potential that I had, and I saw myself as someone who had to be trained up to become a trader. So I didn't see myself as someone who can't make it. I knew it's like, when you're completely overweight and all you have to do, minimizing it here a little, but what you have to do is you have to eat healthy, you have to do lots of sports, you have to get enough sleep. Like there is rules and strategies that we can apply to our health. And if we follow those rules and strategies, then we can become healthy and fit and toned and create whatever we want to create, right?
Yeah.
And so that's how I saw myself in trading as well. I knew I was not um, designed for trading at that time based on my upbringing because I hadn't learned how to think logically. I hadn't learned how to regulate my emotions. I was very emotional, right? And that doesn't help in trading, doesn't help with discipline. But I knew I can learn it. I knew that, and I didn't give up on myself. And I can tell you, everyone around me was like, "You need to stop this. You're a gambler." And I'm like, "No, this is my growth journey, and it takes however long it takes. I don't care." But I was always working, having other income as well, like property, the coaching. I also worked in companies, so I always made sure that I'm financially taken care of whilst I'm working on my trading journey.
Got it. And when you started coaching?
I started coaching actually in 2007 when
Oh, at that
the
time, basically.
yes, yeah, and so how that came about was so before I started I started my coaching journey in 2004. And so it takes several years before you get certified. And you start coaching during your studies, but it's not really, I mean, you don't know anything about human behavior. All you have is a script and you go through the script, right? So I don't
Yeah,
call that
theory.
coaching. Now I have like 20 years of experience in coaching. It's a very, very different level. So I 2007, my broker that I traded through saw how my results changed. And then they asked me out for lunch. They're like, oh, they asked me out for lunch. But they actually asked me out for lunch to ask me about what did you do that your results changed? And I told
Really?
them, yeah. And I told them, they're like, oh, wow, we want someone like you to help our traders because, the results are, 90% of traders to lose money. And then they took me on a tour around Australia. And I'm forever grateful to the person. David Galtieri is his name. And he's the one who really got me on the speaking circus and got me really working with traders because he saw the potential in me as a trading coach as well because he saw my transformation. So that's how it all started. Yeah.
So today you work with traders, investors on the mentality aspect, right?
That's right. So I have a few value
How to
investors as
not
well.
get off the rails when you see the red candles, basically.
Exactly. That's right. So whatever the color of the candle, we want to steer our course and we want to stay even keeled and make really good trading decisions no matter what. And of course, that's not always so possible, but we want to get as close as possible to being able to have a consistent performance. And you know yourself, being a trader and investor yourself, that consistent performance doesn't mean that you don't make any losses. It means that oh, over the long term, you are able to derive your income from trading, and
Right,
you
based on the
also
simple statistics, basically.
exactly, yeah, exactly. So yeah, I work with some phenomenal traders, really the whole spectrum, because you know Alan, I choose my traders based on who I want to work with. And
Mm-hmm.
it can be someone who is really unsuccessful, but I see the potential in them and I love working with them. And I also have traders who, want to breach the $10 million mark. And, that's a very different coaching than with someone who has never achieved success before. But I want to work with interesting people. And that's why I don't say I only work with people. Like there's coaches out there that say, well, if you have to have $500,000 in your account, otherwise I don't coach you. And I'm like, I don't care how much money they have in the account if they are
But
not
why
nice
is that?
people.
I mean, it doesn't really matter the amount of money that the trader puts into
Yeah,
his trading.
yeah, it's a business decision, Alan, because look, if you want to put out testimonials and so on and make yourself look good as a coach, the chances of you being able to help someone who already has enough money and enough experience are much higher. So your success rate as a coach seems to be higher.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
that's why. But I don't care about success rate as a coach. I care about making this world a better place.
Got
I
it.
have been hurting and struggling so bad in my career, and it was really not necessary. If I had had someone like me who would have guided me through the pitfalls and the valleys and the mountains of trading. And so that's what my work is more about. And also, that's why I love what you do, because you're still quite young and you guys are who make this world a better place, especially, with all the stuff that's going on right now. We want to make this world a better place no matter what. And I love that. That's
You
what I'm
touched my heart
about.
right now.
Yeah,
we need people like you more, like
thank you.
for sure.
Hmm.
So how does the process of coaching looks like? Like the trader
Mhm.
comes, and then what?
So, first of
It's
all,
it's most like the starting phase is most questions basically is to understand the where the trader at what level the trader is, to understand his personality, his trade, why he's doing what he's doing, and so on, right?
that's correct. So, the first step is I want to see what are the main mistakes my trader make at the moment. Because I look at the 80-20 rule, I want to know what is the key problem that we can work on. That when we resolve this one problem, their trading is going to change tremendously. It has going to have the highest impact because we all have so many problems. I can work with traders on their problems until the rest of their lives. But
Mm-hmm.
who cares, right? We just want to know what's the biggest impact we can make in the shortest amount of time. So that's why I asked them to create an analysis and to tell me what is the biggest mistake you make. So let's say it is not taking losses. It's the biggest mistake. And the second biggest mistake is to cut the winners too short. So that's all I want to know. What's the number one thing that you do that if we transform that and we change that, will catapult you forward by 80%? And then we go into detail. So then we look at what is it that is causing that behavior. So it's like when you look at the car, right? Cars
Mm-hmm.
have a certain mechanic to it. And I, as a driver, all I know is I press the accelerator of my car and then it drives. And if I put the gear into reverse, it drives backwards. But what is going on underneath me, with all the mechanics, I have no clue. And so this is how my traders are. They know is they want to do one thing or the other, but they have a certain behavior. I, as the coach, I understand what's going on underneath the bonnet of the car. So the trader. I understand the dynamics, the relationships. And so then we can go to work. We can look at number one. Have you heard of the DISC profile, Alan? DISC.
Okay, but regarding relationship with who? With themselves or
The relationship with themselves, the
okay?
relationship with their family, their relationship to money, their relationship to success and failures, their
Okay, their
relationship with
perspective
certainty.
on the world.
Yeah, we can call that
Okay.
perspective. Yeah. All these create our patterns of behavior. So, for example, why do we do what we do? Like, why do I press a mouse button or not? Well, that's where neurolinguistic programming comes in. Richard Bandler and John Grinder, they were both university professors, and John
Mm-hmm.
Grinder was linguistic and Bandler was IT and mathematics. So most probably someone that you understand really well with your background, right? So they were talking to each other over lunch and they said, why is it that some people are super successful and the other people are just failures? But we give them the same information, which is very similar to the turtle experiment, a few decades ago. So just the turtle experiment, I think, never gave a really good insight into what is going on with traders because there was no trading coach explaining why. But Richard Bandler and John Grinder, who then developed neurolinguistic programming out of this research, they found out that the difference between successful and unsuccessful people is three things: the feelings they have, the self-talk they have, and the mental images they make in their mind. And so we see that in the Olympics at the moment as well,
Mental
right?
images, you mean like what I want to buy, like material things?
So mental image is
Okay.
something like I want to press that mouse button and want to get out of a losing position. And a lot of traders who are visual, they suddenly get the image in their mind. They see it in their inner eye that the moment they press the mouse button, the trade goes back into profit. That's what I mean with mental image.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so something what we imagine ourselves in our mind.
It could be called also like optimism. So basically, I imagine so that the candle will be green, like it's or not.
Yes, yeah, or hope, false hope, right?
And I'm waiting, but actually I'm losing,
Yes,
losing.
exactly.
Okay.
And so, so it's these three elements: the thinking, the feeling, and what we see in our inner mind the moment we want to do that behavior. And that then will decide what action we take, what we do. Do we press that mouse button or not? And so now I've done a lot of research into what is it with my successful traders who make millions of dollars. What is it that they think? What is it that they feel? And what mental image, what do they imagine in their inner eye when they have to close a position? And there's a clear distinction. Do you know what the difference is, Alan, by any chance?
They all in the more rational side. I mean, just as a guess,
Yes.
like
So the
rational
more rational,
decisions, basically.
that's right. The more rational ones, they focus on their capital. The more emotional ones, they focus on that trade, if it is a loss or a profit. So all my successful traders, everyone who is profitable, they don't worry if they have a loss or a profit, but they worry about their capital. And they rather take a loss, they rather miss out on a trade than gambling with their capital.
They might save their capital and just go to the next trade and try there.
Exactly.
It's
And
basically
that's
to lose, to learn what happened not correctly, and then to improve at the next trade
exactly
as much as possible. The
yes,
market allows it.
exactly. Because the market is so dynamic, the market never looks the same, but as you say, as much as possible, we can derive from the current market action how we need to adjust. If you're in a sideways market, if we're in an impulsive market, rising or falling, or volatility like we have right now, we need to adjust our risk management, right? So so unsuccessful traders, let me say that again. I always call my trading capital, so my trading bank, that's my goose. And my goose lays golden eggs. And the golden eggs are the profits. So the unsuccessful traders, they focus on the eggs. They don't want to lose the golden egg, but sometimes you have to sacrifice the golden egg, so have a loss, in order to protect the goose who lays the eggs. And the successful traders, they worry about their capital more than about the eggs. Does it make sense? So they don't want to sacrifice the goose just to save a golden egg.
Yeah.
And that is really one
they're
big
focusing
distinction.
on the trade, only the short-term trade, that sometimes it's best to lose like 100% of the
Trade, yeah.
amount, the price, well, how it's called, the trade itself, like 100% to lose it, to let it go, but to save the capital.
Exactly. That is always the focus of successful traders. Yeah. So you can see we can already have a pattern of behavior between successful and unsuccessful traders that can be modeled and that can be trained. And so,
and how you define emotional and rational? I mean, if someone comes to you, can you understand, like, where is he on the spectrum? Like, is he more on the rational or on the emotional side?
Yes, very, very quickly. So when I talk to someone, I can already hear in the language they choose, in the topics they talk about, if they're more emotional or more rational. So the more rational people usually talk about the trading and the markets. The more emotional people talk about themselves.
Really?
Yeah, it's a really big difference. And so that's the two extremes. The more rational people, we want to teach them to be a little bit more in touch with their emotions, because it's also where the intuition sits, if used correctly. And the more emotional people, we want them to keep their emotions, but to deal with their emotions better and to add rationality. And that was what was missing for me, Ellen, when I started. I did not know how to think logically and rationally because no one has taught me growing up. And I didn't know that I didn't know that. Right? So only trading showed me, wow, I don't know how to think about money and risk management. I have no clue. So I became a mortgage broker.
But it's possible to move the emotions? I mean,
not remove. We don't need to remove them, but we want to learn to work with them. Because, if something happens, like in 2009 when my father got cancer, I could not remove my emotion of being sad for my father, but I could work with my emotions and acknowledge it so that it doesn't impact my rational thinking in my trading.
Got it.
Yeah, so that can be taught, definitely. And you see that with athletes all the time, right? When you have a Nadal, and in tennis, like they have to perform no matter what. It doesn't matter what happens in their lives. And that is the big difference, because the true professionals, because they can separate, they still do their job no matter how hard life is on the outside. If they go through emotional challenges, through illness, through, I don't know, divorce or whatever it is, they still show up for their job. Whereas the more emotional people, they can't function anymore. They can't think clearly anymore. But that also can be taught and can be learned. It's just learned behavior, nothing else.
So define the problems that you need to work with the traders,
Yes.
and then what? Like how do
And
you
so, mhm.
how do you improve their performance over the time?
So again, we have a benchmark of how unsuccessful people or traders think. So we have a benchmark how unsuccessful traders think and how successful traders think. And what we want to do is we want to help the unsuccessful traders to think like successful traders. So a successful trader would always say, "Oh man, I'm so annoyed about having had that loss, but it doesn't matter. I need to keep my capital safe. So it's actually better that I took that loss." An unsuccessful trader always says, "I'm so angry that I took that loss. I'm such a stupid trader. Will I ever make it? Why did I have a loss again?" So they punish themselves for having done the right thing, for having taken a loss. Where successful traders, they don't like the loss, but they are proud of themselves for having taken that loss. So what I then can do is with my unsuccessful traders, I can teach them to be proud of themselves because they have done the one thing that only the top 1% of traders are willing to do. They took that loss. That's something to be proud of and not something to be upset about for yourself.
Yeah,
I
sure.
don't, yeah, so
Brilliant, yeah.
that's where we would start, for example. We would also look for where did you learn that behavior? So, for example, money mindset is very interesting, Alan, where traders have had traumatic experiences with money. I have been working with a trader who had a very, very successful father, and they lived in abundance. Right, his father got a heart attack from one day to the next when my trader was 16 years old, and that was in 2008. And his father had not taken care of a will. He didn't have a will. He didn't write down what would happen with the investments and the
He
money.
cared less.
He didn't expect to die suddenly, right? So he didn't expect to die of a heart attack. He was in his 40s. He was very young. And so they lost everything when the father died. And so my trader that I've been working with is a very, very good trader, but he always has so much fear around money. He always has the fear that the money is being ripped away from him. And so he never lets his profits run far enough. He takes his profits far too quick out of that traumatic experience when he was 16. Yeah, so then I would do trauma work with someone like him, because that is not a fault in thinking. This is a really deep-seated trauma where the fear is just too strong, and then the fear needs to be healed, for example.
Well, it's so fascinating. I mean, I really wanted to ask how do you take out the fear, or at least
Mhm.
mitigate the its
Yeah.
its influence on the trader.
So first of all, I want to understand what is my trader afraid of.
Okay.
And they always say, "I'm afraid of losing money," because that's what trading is about, right? Making and losing money.
Yeah.
And then I asked them, "What about losing money are you so afraid of?" And then they say that I can't pay my rent. "And what about not paying your rent are you so afraid of?" "That I will lose my house and my family." So I keep drilling down into finding out what they're so afraid of. And then I work all the way back up again and say, all right, so these are valid fears, right? And like, if you lose, and I've seen it so many times over my last 20 years as a coach, if you don't take your losses and you keep adding money to your trading account, not taking your losses. I worked with a trader who has been short the DAX since 2019, 5 years. That was when the DAX was below 10,000. I think the last trade was DAX trade was 9,900. And now the DAX was, 15, 16,000.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a very valid fear, right? And DAX is now 18,500. But she got stopped out when the DAX was 16,000. She lost everything. So then we need to look at acknowledging that fear. Yeah, that is a really valid fear that you have. And if you keep doing what you're doing, then that fear will come true. And I always remind people of that quote from Sir John Templeton: traders lose the most amount of money in the attempt not to lose money. It's my favorite quote because I have seen
Repeat
it
it
over
again.
and over again.
Good quote.
Yeah. So Sir John Templeton said, traders lose the most amount of money in the attempt not to lose money. And this is really what happened to her. She didn't want to take that loss. She didn't want to lose money. And then she lost everything. So once I show them, you're afraid of losing money, but if you keep doing what you're doing, you will create your fears. Exactly that will happen. So what do we need to do? How do we need to change your self-talk and your feelings, so your relationship with money and your feelings about losing, so that you will be able to take that loss easily and effortlessly. Yeah, it might be annoying, but nothing stops you. Like, Alan, it's like crazy. You have the thought, okay, my strategy told me to get out of my trade. And it's like a circuit breaker between your brain and your index finger. It just does not want to press that mouse button. Like, how hard can it be to get out of a losing trade? You just need to press that mouse button. And yet it's so impossible for some traders. And that relationship we need to start building again. So it's a habit that has to be built. And so I would go with them on something like TradingView and practice with them taking losses over and over and over again until it's second nature, until they can't do any other way.
That's when the algos came about.
Yes. Yeah.
Because to press on the mouse button when you see the number, like a little on the percentage, but sometimes the number is even more critical because it depends on the money that the trader invested.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a harsh thing to do
Alan,
sometimes.
when I started out, I always tell that story. I could easily spend $200 on a pair of shoes, on heels that I loved, but they were so uncomfortable I would never wear them, and I would not worry about it. But I could not take a $20 loss in the markets. And I would say to myself, this is crazy. It doesn't make sense.
Like, it's fascinating why the human
Yeah.
psyche works like that.
Yeah. So I can tell you why. It is anyone who finds it hard to take a loss, they usually have unresolved grief, so sadness. And for me, I had a pattern, we call it abandonment in the attachment theory. And so here you see relationship coaching has been very useful, because what is your relationship to the markets? It's almost very similar to relationships between two people. And so the grief had to be healed first. And then when my grief was healed, taking a loss wasn't a big deal anymore. It's almost like when you have burnt yourself, at the oven, or you played with fire. And when you get close to the burn on your hand, it really hurts. But when it's healed and it's a scar, you can touch the burn where it was before and you feel nothing. It's the same with trading. But do you really want to wait a year until your trauma is healed when you can use an algo? I love algos. I have a trading friend, a broker friend, and he told me, so he has a brokerage, and he told me that the traders who use algos, they are about at the 75%. Oh, sorry, let me rephrase it. 75% of traders who use algos, you lose money. 90% of traders who trade manually lose money. So you can see algos already improved. I'm not good with maths, so what, by 10, 15%?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
so
doesn't matter,
that's
but it's still
phenomenal. Yeah, exactly, right? So that's phenomenal. So algos really have a place. And I did a training once for a prop firm, PropX in Sydney, and not for with them. That was in 2012. I wanted to trade for them, and the training was amazing. And one day we had to do this thing where we would close out each other's trades. So I would put on a trade, just a random trade. It was in a simulator, and then my trading buddy would close out my trades, and I would close out my trading buddy's losing trades. And there was no emotion attached to it. It was so easy.
That's
right?
actually a smart way.
That's
actually
how an
really a
algo
smart way.
works.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I also knew.
I mean,
and
algo works 24/7. Also.
Exactly. So the algo is my trading buddy, right? So my trading buddy who
Yeah.
closes out my trades. So my trading buddy does the things that I'm not good at. But at the time, again in 2000,
it's hard. It's sometimes it's hard to trust the machine. I mean, I get why. Like
why
one
do we
error,
not trust
like
the machine?
one bug in the
Yeah.
code, and it could do some damage to the capital.
So I have a friend. She is a little older, and she is a quant. She was a professor for mathematics at Melbourne University, but she has been
Okay.
working for this hedge fund, I don't know, 20, 30 years, a long time. And they only have computers working now. They don't have a trading floor anymore. They don't have traders. She, together with her business partner, so she's a mathematician, he was the trader, the hedge fund manager. They created together this strategy, coded it, and they have about 20 people, only IT people that don't know how to trade, who monitor the systems. Because a hedge fund, you can imagine how many millions of money, hundreds of millions of money they have under management. So that's the future, Alan, or that's what hedge funds already do. They don't have traders on the floor anymore. They have IT people who know nothing about trading, but make sure that the algos don't have a bug, that the time change is on time. I was working with a trader who had an algo. She did really well, and but she forgot, because she's Australian, and she forgot we have really tricky change in time zones. Between
Is it
Europe and
traded
America.
in the night, or the opposite?
Exactly. Yeah, it was also an algo that traded 24/7, but she forgot to change when America went on daylight savings. So the algo started trading an hour too early, or too late, I can't remember, and that really caused havoc in your trading strategy. But if you're a hedge fund, you have IT people who make sure these things are taken care of, right?
Yeah.
Or they check for bugs all the time. What happened to her as well, I learned quite a lot from her because she was doing her own algos. Really smart cookie. She's like a model because she's so beautiful. She's super smart and amazing trader. She knows how to do algos. Like, she's just an amazing friend. Yeah, exactly. I can show you pictures afterwards. And so, but what happened to her as well, and again, that was, maybe 10 years ago, 10 years ago, I would say. Do we have 24? No, it was 2017, that would have been. She her algo got a bug and then started repeating the same trade over and over again until the account was empty. So she had
Wow.
$15,000 in the account,
It's
and
painful.
it was all gone. Yeah, very painful. But that was the beginning of algos, Alan. Now
Yeah.
all that can be taken care of really easily, right? I mean, you are the algo guy, not me. So
I mean, kinda, yeah, but still, bugs are human error, so it could happen.
Yeah.
I mean,
And so
everything
that's
could
why
happen.
hedge funds have a full team of IT professionals who
Yeah, for sure.
make
Not only
sure.
IT, by the way.
Mhm.
Physicians.
Physicists.
Yeah, physicians.
Yeah. Yeah.
Physicists,
Crazy.
math people. I mean,
Yeah.
mathematicians.
Yeah.
They have all the talent in the world. I mean,
Amazing.
also all the money in
Amazing.
the world to hire them.
Yeah, and this is what we are trading against, right? Us little retail manual execution on TradingView traders, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
By the
So,
way,
but mhm,
yeah, sure.
you go.
Uh, is it possible to to see how the trader trades and to connect it to the human psyche? Like, is
Yes.
there a connection between them?
Yes. Absolutely.
So basically,
And
on the statistics and the way the trader trades the market, it's really possible to say, okay, well, he could be afraid of this, and that. He
yes.
thinks maybe about 1, 2, and 3. So, is it possible?
Yes, absolutely. If you look at marketing, and again, I mean, do you know Daniel Kahneman? He was
Daniel
Israeli,
Kahneman.
right?
Who
Thinking
again?
Fast and
Oh,
Slow.
oh, yes, I know the book. Yeah.
Daniel Kahneman. I think he was Israeli because he were at the University of Tel Aviv, and Amor Tversky. And
Yeah, yeah.
so Thinking Fast and Slow, their famous book. He already looked at how humans make financial decisions, and he found patterns of decision making, and he called them biases, right? That's where we got the behavioral biases from, where we say um, traders have in their mind a certain level that's an anchor. So you have a trader who, and that happened to me, Alan. I remember it was in 2009, and the market, I was trading the DAX, and there was something going on, and the DAX just collapsed, right? At the time was just really
Mm-hmm.
quite volatile, I think 2008, 2009, I can't remember. And so within like 5 minutes, I had a $5,000 profit. And it was I had a $4,995 profit. Was the best profit that I had ever made in 5 minutes. And I was like, oh, just one more point, and then I'm at the $5,000 mark. And guess what? The DAX never went one more point up. It then went down, it reversed. And I got essentially out at $200. Why? Because in my mind, that's the behavioral finance, right? The anchoring.
I mean, you were greedy,
Nothing.
so
Yeah, I was greedy, right? But there's a strategy behind greedy. That's what we call the anchoring effect, the behavioral bias. Greedy means that in my mind, there's a level, and that was 4,995. And anything less than that wasn't good enough. Nowadays, that I understand anchoring, and thanks to the book Thinking Fast and Slow and Daniel and Amor's work, um, I know that when I have a really good profit, let's say I make $5,000 in 5 minutes, I know that I'm now at risk of the anchoring effect, and I can work with it.
and then you
Yeah.
know to get out. To basically
Yes.
to
Yeah. I know I get out because it's like when I have a little bit too much wine to drink, I know that I don't drive a car because I can't be trusted to make good decisions. Like we know our weaknesses then. Yeah, and so that is one thing. We know the behavioral biases. We can work with them. So I've done a lot. I love Thinking Fast and Slow is my favorite book. It's 600 pages, and I've worked through it over and over and over again and applied it to trading. In this book is also how companies make their marketing strategies. So I was, because I didn't know how to think logically, I was one of those people who would buy, like, let's say on the weekend, I would get a bottle of wine that was usually, let's say, $20. I don't drink much anymore, but at the time I would, have a bottle of wine for the weekend. And then there was a bottle of wine that was reduced from $50 to $25. And see, that's the same faulty thinking like traders do. I was focusing my thinking on, I can save $25. But the financially successful person knows that we don't save $25, we spend $5 more than we used to spend with a $20 bottle. And this is what Daniel Kahneman and Emma Tversky in Thinking Fast and Slow really made available to everyone, to the public. That changed my life, that changed my trading. Now, so where we would look at, it's exactly the same concept. The fault in thinking is that we would take that $25 savings in context of the bottle of wine, what we spent. So in trading terms, in context of the profit or the loss that we make. But what we have to think, how much money do I make or lose in context of the capital that I have in my trading bank? It's the same with the wine. It's not about saving $25. It's about how much do I make or spend more or save compared to my income. And so compared to my income, I would spend $5 more and not save $25. And see, that's the kind of thinking that is faulty that traders have all the time, that successful traders don't have. Yeah, so that's an avenue that we can work on. And
So basically,
another,
there is a consistent strategy that works, and sometimes there is no rational explanation why. Like if I'm winning 5,000, and I'm not going like I'm not waiting. I'm just taking the 5,000. That's it.
Yeah.
So there is like a pattern that I can recognize, and based on that pattern, I can understand the human psyche of the trader.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
No, it's fascinating.
It is very fascinating, and this is what makes coaching so much fun. And then, of course, we have all these behavioral tests like the DISC profile, the 16 personalities, so Myers-Briggs. There's so many assessments nowadays that we can make on how people naturally behave that we can draw some information from. So I'm a DISC certified trainer, and so I know that people who come out as high D, for example, dominant, they're very focused on facts and figures. Whereas when you have someone who is a high I, so more of an influencer, they are more emotionally driven, feeling driven. They make the decisions based on feelings. So all my traders have to do the test first. That saves me so much time because I can already see in the tests what their main mistakes might be. And when someone comes out as a high I already know I need to teach them how to think rationally and logically because they're too emotionally driven in their decision making. So they would buy a car because they like it, because it feels good, that car, it looks pretty. Whereas a high D would look at, is that car expensive? Or does it have a high fuel consumption? So the facts and figures, right? Is that car functional for what I need it for? Because if I'm driving On the beach, I need a four-wheel drive. I can't have a race car like a little Mercedes AMG. With a Mercedes AMG, I drive better on the street, right, than on the beach. So we already know from these behavioral assessments what their pattern of thinking is, and that makes the behavior predictable, that makes the results predictable, that makes the way they trade best predictable. So a high D and a high I are really good at short-term trading. A high C and a high S are better at longer-term trading. I'm generalizing here, of course.
Yeah, obviously, it's
Yeah,
it really depends on the trader. To
exactly. There is a little bit more context required, but you can see that already makes it predictable. So for your algos, you can already say this kind of algo would fit this kind of trader. Let's say, let's ask them to make a disk profile. And based on the profile, we already know what their problem would be. And then we create an algo for them that addresses that specific problem. So the high Ds are usually very aggressive. They go gung ho. They need to be reined in a little, right? Like, calm down, dude. Take your time. And you can create an algo for them to help them do that. And the high Is who are like, oh, that looks like a great trade, right? They get excited when they see a big candle and they jump into the trade, and then it turns around on them because they didn't think it through. And then you can put an algo that helps them. Hey, I know that looks like a great candle, but have you done your assessment? Is that really a trade? Go through it rationally and logically. Yeah, so something like that would be amazing. Would most probably cost me my job, but happy for if that changes the trading world.
I, I actually have taken the 16 personalities test recently.
Oh wow! Have you done disc as well?
um, no, I actually did it on the internet. Like,
Ah, okay. So yeah, that is. I find it very, very helpful to work with my
I got the
traders.
letters and
So
just like brief description about like the traits and so on.
yeah, it is.
Pretty interesting. I mean,
It is a little superficial, but when you have someone who has been trained in 16 personalities, they can find out a lot about you. For example, are you someone who craves harmony? So if you're someone who wants harmonic relationships, you won't be finding it easy to take a loss because it's always a little bit the feeling of a confrontational situation.
mm,
And when we know that, then we can work on that, right? Then we can help you to feel good and in harmony with taking a loss rather than feeling uncomfortable about it. As you can see how helpful that already is when we know what your 16 personalities or your disc profile is. And yeah.
awesome. So, and how do you measure success? Like the whether the coaching has helped the trader in the long term or not? Like, you give usually questionnaire to them or
No, it's all
uh,
data driven. So I
data
want to
driven?
see, yeah, I want to see the statistics, the trading statistics. And the key statistics I'm looking for is the profit factor. So the profit factor tells us, let's say it's zero 0.8.
Mm-hmm.
Then we know that for every dollar the trader loses, they only make 80 cents profit. That means they spend more than they make. Doesn't work. So we want to have the profit factor at least above 1, not 1 because 1 is break even, but above 1 so they start making money. So I want to see the profit factor improving. And that can change week to week, right? Because the markets change week to week. I want to see the number of losing trades reducing and the number of losing trades in a row reducing and the number of winning trades in a row improving. I want to see that the biggest loss gets smaller and the biggest win gets bigger and that they are in a relationship because often I see that the biggest loss is bigger than the biggest win. That can't work. I mean, we have the outliers, right, when there was a gap or so. But if that is something that happens consistently, can't work. A lot of traders are not good with risk and money management. So that is also measurable. And also, we can do an emotional journaling where we see how extreme the emotions are for the trader, and then see that the emotions get less and less intense, that we still have emotions because you're humans and we should have emotions, but we don't have these extreme highs and lows. We're like, yay, I made money, or oh no, I
Yeah.
lost money. It's like, oh crap, I lost money. Yeah, so this matter of fact, because no one wants to lose money, of course. That was a really cool trade. I made some good profits here. I traded it really well, right? So it's still matter of fact.
Awesome. And what do you think about the AI industry in general, like affecting the coaching, uh, like
Um,
the coaching industry and like the trading performance,
I have to
coaching, and
say,
so forth? Like,
I wish I had more knowledge. I would love to do a coaching app. In Australia is a company, they made a coaching app for people who are depressed. And I saw that. I was able to test it, was very lucky. It's amazing. It's really good. As a tool, I think it's super useful. I don't think it will ever replace coaching because people still need the interaction. Because
people need the other people. They don't need machines.
exactly,
Like,
exactly. And the human personality is quite complex, and I don't think AI can cover that because um, it's too many variables to take into consideration. Again, it's like a car. You know, um, I might press the accelerator and nothing is happening. It could be anything. So then we need to maybe talk to the person, see their facial expressions, um, and get some more information around this. But I think AI can be super helpful with coaching because you get to the root cause easier and faster. I think it's really the future. Again, if I had the knowledge and the
yeah.
resources, I would totally do a coaching app. And they already exist and they're phenomenal. I have a friend who had knee problems, and he also got on this free app. It's like a medical app, right? So this app
Mm-hmm.
asked him all kinds of questions about his knee. And he said, I felt so taken care of, better than with a doctor, until it asked me for $500 to buy the app so that I can have the solution. But, that's a different conversation, but you can
Yeah.
see how powerful that is. And then he went with the results um, to his doctor, to his chiropractor, who then used those results to help him. I think it's amazing. It's the future.
Okay. Great. So, any advice that you can give to the starting trading, to the experienced trader, investor, long-term investor, anyone who's listening to this podcast, any advice?
Yeah, so the beginning traders, what we naturally do is we want to learn the patterns of market behavior so we can kind of forecast them and make money on them. At the same time, learn your own patterns of behavior. And I tell you the best way to learn them, if you have your parents, look at how your parents react, right? And then look at what you have learned from them. Most of it is learned behavior. And then see if that works for trading or not. Um, Simple example, I'm at my mother's place today, and I wanted to go into the forest for a run before our podcast. And my mom's like, there's going to be a thunderstorm, don't go. And I'm like, oh, yeah, but I want to really go.
It's
And she
fine.
was like, no, please go, right? Yeah. And so I didn't go for my run. And guess what? There was no thunderstorm. And then I didn't go because she didn't want me to go. And I gave my power away to her. And then I did a really good check-in with myself. Where else in my life do I do that? Why did I listen to her? You know, like I became this little kid again that had to listen to the mother. The conditioned response, right? Do I also do that in trading? So these kind of, that's really where you should start with understanding why you do what you do. How do you respond in moments of difficult decisions? How do you respond when you come under stress? And all these will help you to deal with situations that are difficult in trading as well. For the more experienced traders, I don't. Do you know Linda Rushke? She's a market wizard. She's a
Linda who?
Rushke,
Linda Rushki.
Rashke. You must interview her. She is one of the best traders in the world. She's a really good friend of mine. I'm very lucky. Funny enough, we connected over horses. And yeah, so, but you know, look, like when I look at her, she still reads personal development books. She still asks me for my opinion on certain things and how you can improve. So from a coaching perspective, she's always interested in becoming better. So now she started learning how to become a runner. She was never a runner, but now she wants to be a runner, and she's beginning. She's 60 now, so there's no stopping her. It's amazing. So keep learning. There's always another level of how you can develop yourself. And she's very curious about new technology. She always has people around her that can teach her about new technology as well. So keep an open mind, because if you don't, especially nowadays with the AI revolution, you'll be left behind. And we already see that the market has changed so much in the price action behavior. If you don't stay on top of the new developments with AI, you have no chance for longevity. So yeah, just be open-minded, keep learning, stay curious, and have fun, and just have a lot of sense of humor. You know, like life is tough,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
we have to take things a little lighthearted. That helps us to get through it as well. So I think that's all that I have to offer on quick advice for your
What about
traders.
you, experienced ones that have some
The
couple
experience,
years behind them?
yeah, the experienced traders, and I work with quite a few traders also who are in their 50s and very successful. And you know, Alan, life never has less problems. I remember when I was a teenager, I always thought, once I'm this certain age, I will never have any problems again. And it's like, no, there will be a new set of problems all the time. And learn how to foresee potential problems because they will come, and then be prepared. So, for example, the AI revolution, I know most of my big traders were prepared for it and they worked with it. And that's why they hopped on NVIDIA and had like massive profits. So, yeah, again, always be open minded and don't think just because you're a certain age, you're too old, or because you're a certain age and have a certain experience, you've made it, because it can change too quickly if you don't stay on top. Yeah. And take care of your health.
Yeah,
I used to have,
definitely. I mean,
yeah, I used to have back problems for many years until I found an amazing osteopath who fixed it within a month. Like, it's so hard to find good people
damn.
around you, and he is now part of my team. But when you have back problems, it's hard to focus and it's hard to do work because you're so trying to manage your back. And yeah, that's also what I really would recommend everyone. Make sure your health is in good order early enough, and otherwise it's hard to how to perform.
Mandi, thank you very much for coming to the podcast and sharing your valuable knowledge. Thank you, really. I really appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure, Alan. I had so much fun talking with you and meeting you guys. I think it's really exciting what you guys are up to. You are the new generation, and man, I'm feeling privileged
Thank
that
you.
I can be part of that. Thank you.
Thank you.